Hello and welcome, Star Wars fans, to this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, the show where we debate takes so hot that they melt a planet with twin suns. My name is Brody, and I'll be hosting this week's episode with my co-hosts Amanda and Christian as we attempt to discover what story is truly the best from a galaxy far, far away. On this week's episode, we're going to be discussing ranks and hot takes from Andor, Episode 9.
Nobody's listening.
By the end of this episode, we'll have a definitive answer on where this piece of Star Wars content ranks amongst the rest. And with that said, let's get this show started, y'all. What an episode. This show just pound for pound delivers time and time again.
Yeah,
Wow, is all I can say.
Pretty dang awesome.
I mean, it has truly knocked, I think, all of our collective socks off.
Yeah.
Like, and I am really impressed just at how much, Brody, you really like this series.
Yeah.
Because you are tough to please when it comes to Star Wars content. You like to find, not that you're a hater. I'm not gonna go that far, but you like to find the things that nobody else wants to say about something and hate it.
Yeah.
But you've really been like, every episode
Except for
really
the first
good.
two.
Except for the first
really,
two.
I thought you were going to just try to hate the show.
Yeah.
As a whole, yeah.
And I'm glad that you can't deny how awesome the show has been.
No, I'm watching this show and I'm wondering if for its first season, if it has a chance of being the best first season of a show I've ever seen.
True Detective season 1. You should watch that and get back to me. But
right.
This is a very, very good show on its own, not just for Star Wars
Agreed.
content, right?
Mhm.
And it's so hard because like right now it's not gaining the traction that I think it deserves. And when I do tell folks about it, I'm like, if you are not watching Andor, they're like, oh, okay, Star Wars podcast guy telling me to watch something Star Warsy on Disney Plus. And I'm like, listen, I'm not that even into all this stuff that's come out since.
Don't loop me in with them, man. I'm not one of them.
Yeah, listen,
okay?
I'm kind of the hater out here. Like, this show's really good. They're like, I'm sure. Enjoy your Manchurian and your little baby Yoda. We're good. And I'm like, all right. Well, you're lost because this is one of the best shows for its first
And
season.
it really has no like real action, no mention of the Force even.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No lightsabers, no Jedi, no Sith. And Star Wars is its most intimidating and terrifying, in my opinion.
Yeah, this episode particularly was the most realistic. It was where they portrayed the Empire as most inhumane as possible.
Yeah.
And we've never gotten the gravity of that until like this episode.
I mean, they
pushes
blew
it
up
out of-
Alderaan.
Yeah. But like they gloss over those things.
That's
like
true,
it's
yeah.
very like black and white, very
Yeah, you don't really see the impact.
you get
of
glimpses of evil
Sure.
with Tarkin and Palpatine and whatnot, but like here it's showing its breeding oppression, showing authoritarianism, showing suffocation by
Yeah.
fear,
Yeah.
and the interrogation.
Yeah.
I think speaks to that. Bix, man, leaving it for us, the audience, to kind of
Assume.
imagine and decide what
Yeah.
that's going to sound like. I just pictured Borgullet just whispering on the other end of the line, like he puts on his headset.
I was really hoping that was going to be the experimental like interrogation device. Where's Borgullet? We need to get shirts that say "Where's Borgullet?"
But in that, all right. So Amanda, before we keep going, what for the folks that just kind of remember this show, they were half watching it.
Right.
What was this episode all about?
So this episode, we're following Andor still in the prison under his pseudonym Keef, and him and his table crew are working hard to be the top of their room as Olaf, the eldest of their group, is just a couple weeks away from being let out. So everyone is kind of reinvigorated by the cause to just see one of their own get out onto the other side. But Olaf is he's just an old man, and he's just kind of crumbling under the pressure of prison and his age, and is struggling to keep going. We see the prisoners in their hallway trying to communicate with each other, and they find out that something has happened on second floor. And we learned that it takes a long time for information to make its way up to the other floors. So is it true? Is it really happening? Do we react to it? Are people listening? Nobody's listening, but are they? And we do jump out of the prison and follow Deidre. She is girl bossing her way through the Empire. Cyril is still hanging out with his mom and is now being more creepy and following Deidre to her workplace and stalking her.
Yep.
That was really uncomfortable. And the entire point of the episode was to try to get, what is Andy Serkis's character's name? Starts with a K, right?
Kino Loy.
Yes. Trying to get him to provide information so Andor and the other people wanting to escape, they're asking him for how many guards are on each floor at any one time. And it isn't until the very end that you hear never more than 12. And that's
which will forever be iconic in Star Wars
iconic.
now. Because like after that moment, you're just like,
I should say that the reason that, what's his name?
Kino
Loy turns around is because as Olaf is dying, the doctor, the medic that comes to treat him basically just takes him out and says, nobody gets out of here. You just get pushed to a different floor. And that's what had happened on floor 2. And they had just killed them all, which is scary.
It was.
And that's what his character needed to be able to turn, because he had been so foresighted on, I don't have less than a year here left, you know?
Yeah. I thought this episode particularly just really like, this was Andy Serkis's time to shine.
Oh, yeah.
And it was his episode. He was amazing. And just showing that transformation of like now going to full self-doubt of the system that you've been a part of, and just really like having that motivation now. But there's so much to unpack in here. So like, which, I don't know, right off the bat. So like the whole mistake of the Empire, when the doctor is talking with them about that, which doctor killed the guy. He's not a doctor. Euthanasia.
Executioner.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when they get word that a prisoner was mistakenly re-released onto a different floor, as I'm assuming it was just they were supposed to go off-world to some other prison planet, but I didn't quite understand.
No, I think they were being like released, like they had served their sentence and it was time for them to go back out into public. And instead, they were put back down on a different floor and told, just keep going.
So, like, you don't think the Empire was just trying to shift them to a different planet for other prison work, and they're just lying to people they're just lying to you about your release. And once you get released, they're shipping them to other slave working planets and, keeping that separate. But like, I don't know. For me, I was just trying to like jar with this. I was like, well,
was it an error that he got replaced back at the same facility? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, it was definitely, that was the error.
Uh-huh.
But it was kind of like, there's this question. It's like, how do they think they can get away with just shipping them to some other planet, other slave planet, and not expect a rebellion on that planet when that guy, whatever. But then you could make the argument. People are like, well, it's the Empire. They're so arrogant. They think they can get away with anything just because.
Mm-hmm. And they make that point in the episode. They're like, we are just bodies. They don't care what we think or what we say.
Yeah. But I was thinking more so like, is this a plot hole, or is this just like, we're just supposed to just like, the Empire is just that arrogant about it?
I think the Empire is pretty arrogant about it. And we get a deeper look, as you kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, of the like state sanctioned genocide that they did, eradicating an entire species from existence and using that as a torture device. Children screaming and slowed down. And what a terrifying scene.
Yeah.
And a fantastic choice to obviously not have the sound play.
Mm-hmm.
And you just kind of get to absorb Bix in that moment and how terrifying it really must be.
I was thinking they were going to start off with some audio that we'd get to listen to.
Yeah.
And you can tell it's getting into something dark, and then our audio would be cut and it just shows Bix getting tortured. Right. I was like ready for that.
Now,
but it was still conveyed the same point.
now, as one who was not alive in the 1940s and did not suffer any sort of persecution from the Nazis, but has just seen it and read it through history books and everything we have available to us now, boy, I don't think there's any piece of Star Wars that really has the Empire making you really feel like these people are space Nazis. And you see that, whatever he is, the doctor, right?
Yeah.
You see he takes so much joy in what he's about to do to what's her name? The one who's about to get tortured.
Oh, Bix.
Yeah. You see that there's this smile on his
He's
face.
so
Like,
excited.
he's
to
so
be
excited. He
testing this
knows
out.
about what happened about these children, this and that. And he's like, sweet, get to test this out some more. And I imagine with a lot of the disgusting evil practices that happened during the Holocaust, that is probably, again, I can only imagine that was a similar attitude that people came in with when with some of those practices. And so, yeah, you get this really gross feeling there. Just everything about it. You see the ins and outs of this thing, and you're starting to see kind of what the complexity of just grossness is when you also meet what's Mama's boy name that likes cereal?
Cyril.
Who's
Cyril. I know I always want to say cereal too. So
well, he goes out and he's basically stalking.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Deidre.
We finally got romance.
Yeah.
A good romance in this
okay,
show.
so
He's so
this
creepy. I wait and watch. I see from time to time pass in or whatever he said.
Yeah, I've talked about on previous episodes how he's been the hardest character for me to figure out because I just don't understand why he is so hooked on one thing, which is finding Cassian Andor, clearing his name, and like upholding
But his name's
the
cleared.
law. What?
His name is cleared. He's good now.
I know, exactly.
His
But it wasn't until this episode where I really started to understand his character because of the creepiness of him following Deidre. I immediately was like, okay, this is like the modern day incel at home who spends too much time at home, has a complicated relationship with his mom, gets served the wrong YouTube ads, and ends down like the extreme right alt pipeline.
or extreme left.
No, we're talking right here.
No, we're talking left.
Right.
Left.
No,
It's on both. Authoritarian exists on both left and right.
In this instance, we are talking about right-wing
No,
authoritarianism.
do not say that, Amanda.
What are Nazis left wing?
So
No.
you can draw the parallels between both. Authoritarianism comes from anyone.
I'm talking right-wing authoritarianism. If we're talking about left-wing authoritarianism,
authoritarian, left or right, authoritarianism is bad. It's wrong.
Okay,
and it can stem from a lot of different
he's getting
things.
pushed down this pipeline that is like law and order. This is the way that the world should function. And if it's not, then I'm being wronged. And that built a character that I know in today's society. And you could say that they're from the left wing or the right wing if you want.
Both.
But
I mean,
they are real. And they are dangerous, and they don't understand social boundaries in that way. So it wasn't until this episode where I really started to get how dangerous this guy is. Like, he has school shooter vibes.
Whoa.
Does he not?
All I know is this. All right. I'm sitting here today, and I've never more felt like a member of the audience than a host of the show, and I'm very much so enjoying the conversation you two are have. I just wish I had popcorn. That's my only regret. I have no idea what you're going to say or what's coming next, or even who's right in this case of left or right.
Well, it's not about.
But I'm interested. I actually kind of hope I can instigate it and bring it back in the conversation. So did you vote for Biden or Trump, guys?
I'm pro Empire, so
whoa.
Yeah.
No,
you can assume.
Yeah, he was creepy. All right, so yes, and I really, as you said, they added a whole lot more of a understanding for him. You're like, okay, now you understand more of why he's hyper obsessed with Andor now, because it's just this obsessive, compulsive need to like unclog this thing in his brain that's just jamming his ability to move on. And part of that is created this sort of perverted infatuation for IBS lady, and she's clearly creeped out by it. And there's no world that this ends well for any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he thinks it's justice that he seeks. Like
He's
just-
horny for justice.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
thinks like what he's concocted is true justice.
And he's attracted to her because she is living out the personhood that he wants to see, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like more of that thought in the world.
Yep.
It's like, why don't you just go ahead and like apply there and try to work up the ranks and do that? Why do you have to
She's like paved the way for his own self vindication, he thinks.
Just wild. It's so good. That element of the story, I really can't stand his mom. I don't know. Like it's
Yeah.
just it's.
But she's a great character too, because then you realize, oh, this is some guy that is like, his mom's just like so in his life. He tried to forget her and he has this complicated relationship, and that adds on to the unsettlingness of his.
It's so unsettling.
Yeah.
Like 1 minute
So
she
unsettling.
plays herself as a victim, but then the next minute when she hears of promotion, she takes glory and credit in that.
Right.
And you can
And
only imagine what that does to a child.
I don't know if you guys will have much of an opinion on this, but do you think that Cyril is kind of queer coded?
No.
I kind of get that vibe.
Really?
I haven't gotten that, but
Just that he is, I don't know. I wouldn't even want to like he doesn't have his like place. I don't know if he like realizes it yet, but he's very particular. I don't know. I kind of get a I don't know, a vibe from him.
Yeah, I mean,
Not that
I
it really
certainly-
plays a role in his interactions with anyone here yet.
I certainly get that he sees himself as kind of like an outcast or outcasted.
Mhm.
I didn't relate that to like his sexuality, but he's got that outcast
it's
vibe.
a potential. You know, there's a lot on the table for this character. As there are for a
Is it
lot.
stereotypical to say that because he likes his clothes tailored that he might
Yep.
be gay?
Well,
I mean, he's really
Just
into
'cause you like-
blonde justice.
Yeah.
close.
I don't know. Like, there's just
Maybe.
something. There's something. He's very, very into it.
Well, with Dedra too, like we get more into we're yo-yoing back and forth from like cheering her on to
Yeah.
then hating her and then kind of like feeling bad for her,
Yeah.
talking to Cyril and whatnot. So like just character development again with this show. Dedra, Cyril, Kino Loy, even Cassian. Like Cassian's kind of been, I would say, more so not as like depth of he's more of like a background character, but then now this episode showing him how from Aldani he didn't really care for much of the team.
Yeah.
Here he's caring and like helping old man Ethan Hawke Ulaf in here, and like we're starting to see this change in Cassian too, which is really cool.
Oh, and can we just for a second, because if we don't talk about it and we forget about this, I'll be so upset. The best line of the episode that I just gave me goosebumps when he asks him again. He's like,
Yeah.
"How many men on each floor?" And he's like, "Never more than 12."
Yeah.
Just like, oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
that just
What a
ends. I'm like,
killer way to end it.
what
Yeah.
an amazing way to end
The
it.
acting, yes, you mentioned Andy Serkis. Like, it's just amazing to watch him on screen.
Right.
And even the scene where he's trying to tone everyone down, like, we haven't heard anything.
Yep.
Stop. It's just a
Keep your
rumor.
head down.
Yeah. You could tell he's still trying to protect himself at that point. And I think this show does a really great job at showing how how slow a rebellion takes, how it really takes time to really grind down different everyday people. And it's not until this one little Jenga block
Sets you off.
sets you off and you're in the cause, and everyone has a different reason for the cause. And I really appreciate that the show gets so intimate and behind each character's reason for the cause.
Oh,
Yeah.
I personally, I don't think it's going to happen. I would love to see Andy Serkis outlive this series and be a part of the original like Rebel Alliance
That'd be cool.
and get like be a part of his own thing that he directs and all that
I
stuff.
feel like he's probably gonna have to die.
And then he turns
know.
into Snoke.
Oh. Anyway, back to trash we go. No, this is really good stuff and it should be revered that way. It's really unfortunate that again, like you can't even like because so much of Star Wars is bad for the most part, not good content. That it is unfortunate that this is, because it has the Star Wars name, it's getting lumped into, Star Wars.
Well,
Yeah, that
and
does happen.
yeah, but even so, it's cool to, and we've talked about like the tone shift of Andor. And that's not per se a space opera; it's espionage. But when Star Wars was coming out, especially like Empire, like we're pushing boundaries and critically acclaimed, and now we're getting back to critically acclaimed, pushing
Mhm.
boundaries where it's like
Yes.
Andor is not just a great Star Wars show; it's one of the greatest shows that's on right now.
Of the year.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
tweeted
No
about
doubt.
this today too, about how this show in particular has brought back the art of television for
Mm.
me. Like looking forward to every week, let alone like the middle of the
Yes.
week.
Yes.
Week after week, I'm like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? And they've planned it so well that every episode ends and you're like, I need the next one, like thirsting
Yep.
for more. It is a lost art to build that type of anticipation week over week and keep people
Yeah.
coming. And I know that it hasn't had the biggest reception or the most viewers across like all of the Star Wars content, but I think that's probably for a good thing.
But give it time too.
Give it
Yeah.
time because it
People
will
will.
settle down. And I've had conversations with people who were fans of or went to go see the original trilogy in theaters when it came out, saying that this show is as good as Empire Strikes Back, or like it's like to the caliber of that.
And
Oh,
that
it
is so
absolutely is.
cool because
That's wild.
this was the last show that I was expecting
Yeah.
that to happen.
I remember seeing the trailers and I remember thinking because of Rogue One, I was like the show has real potential. And then I saw Obi-Wan.
And you're like,
I remember thinking, I do the Star Wars podcast, and I loved Star Wars as a child, and I'm always going to review the prequels and what I saw then. But I've given up. I've really given up hope that this is ever going to be more than just some fun popcorn flicks that you can check
Yeah.
out and enjoy. I don't hate it. I still enjoy Star Wars, but this has given me a new hope.
yeah.
There's really going to be something here that we can really be excited about going forward. And I mean, I don't know if Jon Favreau even is overseeing this project or who's been like the showrunners behind it, but
Tony Gilroy.
Gilroy, I think, yeah.
I hope they're given more autonomy. And I know there's other Star Wars projects that are scrapped. Like I do like Taika Waititi a lot, but after I saw the most recent Thor movie, I'm okay with not going that
Yeah.
direction. And I think, steering into this, like it's kind of dark, and I think maybe they will do more of that DC universe kind of darkness with Star Wars going forward. But I don't know. It's just amazing storytelling. The characters are dynamic. There's a lot of characters to follow here, and for that reason, I was like, I don't know if you're ever gonna really care because Rogue One did the same thing.
Yeah.
But over this long format, you really buy in. And thinking about like, okay, so we actually have to like talk about our ratings here because we're like,
That's fine. I think we have a lot to discuss. We still,
There's so much.
as far as we have a large cast of characters, we still don't have Agent Mosk.
I'm so glad you brought that.
I'm
up.
waiting every episode. I'm like, bring him back, bring him back, bring him back.
Right? Like
Where did he go?
I don't know.
We need the Mosk spinoff series.
Yes, we do. Gosh, I miss him.
what was his line that you? What was they coming?
Derelict of duty.
Dereliction of duty. He's like, there's fermenting out there, sir.
Pockets of fermenting.
I miss him.
Yeah, we ranked this one collectively really good.
I'm so sad about this rating.
Okay, I know you're
Amanda,
sad.
You tanked it.
You think that I tanked it.
Yes.
I
Oh.
still gave everything higher
You
than a
can
3.5.
change. A 3.5. I'm now vouching for your
Just
boy.
because
I'm vouching for your boy.
I know,
for music.
right?
Wow.
I know, right? No, I wanted to I think this show is just doing spectacular. For me, this episode, the story and the characters were higher above the other parts of the series, but that's not to say that the entire show isn't like an impressive work of art.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand your immersive universe a little bit, both your scores. First off, this is a debate show. You know, you can be open-minded and change it. I hope to win
Yeah.
you over this because I think you're both incorrect. And that giving it, out of 5, Amanda gave it a 3.6, Christian, you gave it a 3.7. Myself, I gave it a 4.4. Yes,
This
it
is the immersive universe we're
yes.
discussing.
It doesn't glean off of past Star Wars success and the tropiness of things we've come to like think are Star Wars, but it adds so many new elements to things. And talking about, like I think back a lot to like one example when we see the Senate, I think back a lot to when Padme says, well, this is how liberty dies, with the thunderous applause. And you see Mon Mothma come up, and this, I believe, is the first time it pans out, and you see her riding that little platform, and you see the empirical signia on that platform, really indicating like, wow, again, thinking of like a swastika, and they're really putting their brand everywhere. Really saying like, you're wherever you're from, you're the Empire. You're not really you anymore. And you see one by one people turning off the lights of their platforms. They've given up.
Yeah, they just don't care.
What's the point?
Yeah.
And it's this empty room. And again, I really hope we get Ian McDermott by the end here. The only true, like, again, Star Wars character I'd like to see in the show, because I do think for political reasons it would be really interesting to see him as the Emperor, but not in this way that he's the Sith Lord, but a political
the political
emperor.
side.
Yeah, I would really like to see that in this show and be dynamic, and things like that it really adds to the Star Wars lore. Again, the ISB, everything we're seeing there, and all the complexity with that, and we're starting to see. I mean, this is going into the characters, but I also want to call out Deidre's mean face.
Oh, when she was interrogating Bix, that whole monologue was amazing.
It was like
if I was watching that, I would be
her
scared.
throat.
Oh yeah, I was scared watching it. Just like the little micro movements in her face.
And she's got this little snarl thing down.
And I was like, Emmy, right there.
She's such a great actress. And like, my wife and I are watching this other show, Under the Banner of Heaven, on Hulu, and Andrew Garfield stars in it too, but she is in it as a Mormon wife.
Wow.
And
range.
Two very different, but she plays it so well. Like, she's a very,
very talented,
capable actress.
And I saw that the actor who plays Cyril actually has a really nice beard in real life, and that is confusing to me. That he can have such a total difference of opinion. And you know what, Brody, you bring up a great point about the immersive universe, how it doesn't rely on, well, I've got a bad feeling about this, and the same old. And for that reason, I want you to change my score from a 3.6 to a 4.
Hey, yo. There we go.
Christian, now you.
No, I mean,
a good thing going.
No,
that looks solid. That looks like a solid score.
You raise a lot of good points. I think I was leaning more towards, or attributing those things more towards the story and the characters. Whereas the immersive universe, I'm kind of also, like, we have all these other little subcategories of immersive universe. Lasting legacy will last long. But the lore, the Easter eggs, not saying that it doesn't have it. I think, again, I gave it a 3.7 out of 5, which is still good. But I think I lowered it just because it was more so we are kind of like idling the engine, ramping it up for the next one, because it was like, we're not concluding, we're not starting something new.
All right,
but
I'm not gonna win this one.
Story and characters.
Yeah, they really popped off.
That really scored the highest.
But let's just talk about the music for a second. I don't even
Let's
remember his
talk
name.
about it.
I don't even remember his name, but basically,
Nicholas Patel and B.
Stranger Things of Star Wars scores. All right, listen, all the synth. All I gotta say is, this man has done such a good job of taking your emotions to the next level. And you're right, he's not Ludwig Göransson. He's not coming up with this theme that you come to really start associating with the show. It's true. But when it comes down to, and there is some of that you wish it had in this show. There is not that main theme played throughout that kind of like Top Gun has all these iconic movies. No, it doesn't have that. And I wish it did. But he is able to dig deep. And really help provide the scenes that really spurn very human, raw emotions from your audience that I don't know how many times we've ever seen that in Star Wars besides the original movies with the music that came out that really inspired audiences. You do have that with sometimes with the prequels, a Duel of the Fates and other stuff, but this is top-notch music. And so I would implore, if a 4 out of 5 is just an 80%, I would implore that you both raise your scores from 3.5 as a 70% overall, which again, I think we got to say this episode watching, I mean, I don't think there was music playing when that old man was killed.
Yeah.
Nothing short of killed, but still throughout, I don't see how you give this anything less than, in my mind, a B, 80% for this old Nikki. He killed the
Nikki.
game.
I gave it
killing
a 3.5, not because I don't enjoy it, because 3.5 for me is sort of like it's doing its job still really well. I loved when it opened up and we got like the synthy one. I was
yeah.
like, hell yeah, this
Yeah.
is my jam. And to your point, Nicholas Britell is great at using his music to enhance the moment and make you feel the pressure of it. And so sometimes it, like with the acting and everything else going on screen, the music kind of blends in.
Yeah, what he's doing, he's serving the written material. The written
Yeah.
material isn't really serving him,
Mhm.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
where I
Yeah,
think we've gotten
yes.
before with John Williams and LG. But I'll bump it up to a 3.7 for you, Brody. You can do that for mine.
All right, 3.7
Because-
for me.
Okay, you can do that to mine too.
But yeah, like especially the synth of the intro and whatnot. But yeah, throughout, I was just thinking, other than the intro, nothing like super notable. I couldn't remember something specific with this episode other than it just aided in my
And
that was
so
my
well.
thoughts too, yeah.
suppression into this show.
And sometimes the
just
lack of
being immersed.
sound overall, which I don't know how much you can attribute to him, but again, the choice to not play
Yeah.
any
Yes.
music, because when you show the for example, what's her face when she's being interrogated,
Bix.
in Bix, she's being interrogated, and you hear no noise whatsoever.
Yeah.
A lot of times, think about it, you hear the strings in those
Mhm.
situations,
Just like a
fast playing,
hum or
Yeah.
something, you know.
something playing. A choice to go with nothing.
The amount
Let
of
the imagination
It's
reign.
so
restraint.
it's just so compressing and uncomfortable. Like you really feel alone and trapped in that room.
And it's kind of like Spielberg would always say, like the scarier things are what the audience can't see.
Yep.
But
Mhm.
and it was the same thing with music here. And I mean, this is just top notch. And that's why for me, I actually bumped up two things. I bumped up my characters from a 4.5 to a 5 because as we were talking, I realized there is not one single fault I can find in the characters for this episode. So I won't punish it by giving it anything less than a perfect score
Amazing.
because this episode from the characters was nothing short of perfection, and I will stand by that. I don't care what anybody says. That was
Nice.
it was amazing. And then the story, there were elements that I could connect a little bit more. But again, 4.8 out of 5 for me. That might have been the highest I've ever given any story.
Mhm.
Yeah, that might be.
I can't. The more I think about it, the more I'm just like, this is such a perfect show all around. There's little elements here and there that could be better, but overall, that takes our final score to a 60 or wow.
Wow, no, not a 60. No,
It's
our
a perfect
final
show.
score to 83.6%.
63.2. It's a perfect show. We are haters. No, 83.6.
I also love that this show doesn't have like previews for next week.
Yes.
Mhm.
Because if they would have it, I would have to watch it. I wouldn't be able to stop myself from watching it. But because they don't,
Yeah.
it's just like, are we going to get the Prison Breakout this week, or is it going to try to happen in 2 weeks? You
Yeah.
know, like
We didn't follow that traditional 3-arc format
Yeah,
with this one.
but we also saw, we didn't talk about this totally, but when the new prisoner was coming down, they were starting to make notes like, okay,
Yep.
it looks like anything that moves doesn't have an electric charge. So they're gearing up for it. And I can't wait. I am all for incarcerated people's justice.
Yeah. And he's like, using his bathroom break to cut the pipe.
Yeah, that was cool.
Oh, good stuff.
It was fantastic.
Good
Just
stuff.
nothing short of fantastic. So overall, Andor for us is still number one. The show's not over yet, but I think it'll finish that way.
Yeah.
Of all Star Wars shows at a 79.79%, where Obi-Wan Kenobi is 78.04%. So it's doing its thing and it's doing well. I'm so excited. And that's the biggest thing. Like we still have, I shouldn't say still. We only have 3 more episodes left.
Man,
I know.
There's going to be a lot to happen in these next 3 episodes.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. The way the show has gone, I'm looking at our ratings and it's unfortunate because it's so long and it took a while to get this show going, but we're talking the last 4 episodes alone. It went from 89.73, 87.47, 86.8, and 83.6. We are saying each episode since episode 6 has gotten progressively worse, but those are great scores from us. And if you don't believe us, go back and listen
to
about
Tell
any
us
other
why
show
we're
we've done.
wrong.
And
I
tell
dare
us-
you.
I dare you. I double
Submit a
dog
hot take.
Submit a
dare
hot
you.
take and tell us why we're wrong,
See.
because I have yet to hear, really, I don't know if anyone has been crapping on this show. Not anyone that's been watching it in my circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've not heard.
You two are pretty
Crapping
much the
on
only
it.
Star Wars friends I have. So I don't know. It's just y'all.
If there's any crap, it's more so like, seeing how good this show is makes me more pissed about Obi-Wan and Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I know. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But
If
even
you-
then, we weren't pissed about Obi-Wan. We gave that.
I wasn't
We
mad
gave
about
that a
Obi-Wan.
generous
I
good score.
still look back fondly at Obi-Wan.
We had fun watching that.
It was a 78%.
but I realize it's not to this caliber.
And that's why I'm upset that this is only 1% higher because it is so much better.
We've got 3 more episodes though.
3 more.
But if we continually rank them all this high, it will barely edge it out.
Well, that's the name of the game.
That is the name of the game. I
That's
know
how numbers work.
that I am emotional.
Me
I
too.
am biased. I want this to be so much higher than it is because, because why? Because I will tell you in my hot take, it's hot takes time, people. Yeah.
Don't be too proud of this podcast you've constructed. The ability to rank content is insignificant next to the power of an exceptional hot take.
All right, it is hot takes time. And my hot take, the reason why I'm upset right now that the show sits at a 79.79% overall is because when you look at all rankings, I see that we put we put Rogue One at a 90.27%. That's a really great rating. That's
Yeah.
the 3rd best rating overall.
I gave it a perfect score.
I know you
Like
did.
5, 5, 5, 5, 5.
Fives.
Yeah, I fully
Fives
still
across the
disagree
board.
with that
Fives.
wholeheartedly. But all that to be said, when I go back and I watch this show, where this show sits right now, I would rather watch this show, and I think it is so much better than Rogue One, as it is right now as an incompleted season. And it is already better than Rogue One in my mind, which is why sitting at a 79.79%, where I put Rogue One at like 82. Oh, I hate it. I enjoyed it. I actually don't know if I can even say 82. I actually have a very real score for it, and I don't even remember what that was right now. So whatever I
You
said,
dogged on Rogue One a lot.
hold on.
You
While we're-
hated Borgullet.
You hated the characters. You were like, they didn't matter or make sense. It was like popcorn or whatever you called it.
Yo, I don't remember saying any of these things. But
Yeah, you
maybe-
did.
All right, hold on. I gave it okay.
Wow. Okay. Say what you gave it.
I can.
You said
stand
it
by
was
that.
severely overrated.
Yo, listen. I did. I do believe it is overrated. I do believe 76.8. I'll stand by that. Yeah, I stand by that still. Yeah, that sounds about right. It's fine. You don't connect with the
It's
characters.
fine.
It doesn't have enough time.
If there's
to
anything you
do
take
that.
away from our show, Rogue One, it's fine.
It's fine. It's not terrible. It's almost as good as Obi-Wan. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Almost.
No, I
Almost
hear what
as-
you're saying.
Yeah, but this show is so much better. Like this show is the 90% in my book.
I hear you. I hear you. It is. I know it's easy for us to say, like, comparing a film to a TV show is like apples to oranges, but that's also kind of the premise of our entire podcast. So we have to entertain that idea.
What are you doing, Christian?
I'm just like
He's tutting.
trying to like show the viewers we're trying to fit a.
Trying to do the
Square peg
impossible.
We're trying to fit. Yeah.
There
Yep.
we go.
He's tutting.
Knowing that I gave Rogue One a perfect score, I do hear you though.
I appreciate.
Do I
the
want to say it's a
validation.
hot take?
Is that not a hot take?
I think it's.
I think
a
it's a
hot
hot take. Do I
Just saying.
agree with it?
If there was a bird, it's like I've got like a what is it, like a leaf blower under them. Like those feathers are all ruffled.
Yeah. You know what? I am going to agree with you, only because this show has lesbians and
Oh.
Rogue One didn't, so automatically gets put up
Yo.
ahead. So
Oh my goodness! All right, you said it, not me.
Hey,
Christian.
you gotta appeal to the lesbians. You gotta
Yeah.
get the vote. I would say.
You also said that, not me.
I totally hear what you're saying.
Oh,
I would.
whatever it takes.
I think just because of the adult stage of my life, I don't know if I would dedicate as much time to like rewatch Andor as much as I would rewatching Rogue One, because I love rewatching Rogue One, and I love Rogue One for the
I'm saying critically, not rewatchability.
critically acclaimed. They're both great. Rogue One wins it over for me just
Did Rogue
because
One win any Academy Awards?
I don't care. But Rogue One kind of wins they both win my heart, but Rogue One wins my heart with the space opera that it gets back to, the heart of Star Wars, where it still explores this awesome era of the Empire, and we get Vader as a menacing villain murdering in the hallway. And like I thought that now if Rogue One did not have that scene, hands down Andor, I would put Andor up there. But again, apples and oranges, movie to show. I think Rogue One won a lot of the Star Wars community just as a whole. Like, it's not polarizing because it's critically acclaimed and it captures that same tone of Star Wars, of the space opera, getting back to what we love. Whereas Andor's getting into different tone territory, which is awesome and fun. But it's a great hot take.
Are you voting me down?
I personally disagree.
Well, too bad. Because I had someone.
It's a good hot take.
I had
It's great.
someone
Yeah.
agree with me. All right, who's got the next hot take? You both suck.
I'll come up with one.
I'll come up with one on the spot.
The doctor in this episode.
Yeah.
He's not a doctor.
Right.
He's a murderer.
Okay.
Is that the hot take?
He's just a cold-blooded murderer.
Is that so? Wait, is that the hot take?
Yep.
You fool! Your take is milk toast.
So what I appreciate about that, it's kind of like felt like a cornerback trying to make something work here,
All right.
but there's like no time left on the
So
clock.
you just threw it out of bounds.
It's Aaron Rodgers. And you feel like you're Aaron Rodgers, and you're trying to make a 70-yard throw to a guy in the opposite end, in the end zone. But instead of Aaron Rodgers, it was you. And like,
Wow.
actually, I don't know. That's not fair. Maybe you have an amazing arm. Okay, instead of Aaron Rodgers, it was me. I don't have an amazing arm. There you go. Feel better. Until I see your arm, I can't say anything. But I'm just going to assume that Aaron Rodgers is a special individual.
I
who
get
can
the picture.
make those.
I'm no
passes.
Aaron Rodgers.
I am no Aaron. I mean, I think that goes without saying. Only a few select. Amanda, are you Aaron Rodgers?
No,
Can't make those passes.
no.
I don't buy that.
I'm not a American football anything.
Oh, step. You see, I'm really upset because you weren't at our kickball league last year or kickball tournament for work.
I
and
am
feel like you could've done
very
something to help us.
accident prone, so I had
didn't know
to relieve myself from any opportunity that I would injure myself before my wedding day.
It was like 6 months before your wedding. Was it?
Do you know how long it takes to heal an ACL?
6 to 8 weeks, right?
That's a
At
long
our
time.
age, not anymore.
No,
Not
no
anymore.
kidding.
All year. There it goes. Just limping down the aisle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. All right. Well, that, I
What were you going to say?
appreciate
You're going
throwing
to
the
say
ball.
something about.
Yeah, I appreciate you throwing the ball. It just went nowhere.
Oh, yeah. No, I'll give that to you. Yeah, it was a complete.
But you threw it. You went out. That's what I'm saying. You went out onto an NFL field and risked your life.
I don't even know if I got that far.
And you threw a ball. It didn't go anywhere, but you did it. You did something. All right, Amanda, what's your on the spot hot take?
My on the spot hot take is that they need more creative cereal in this universe. We've only seen one type of cereal that Cyril will consume, and it looks like Trix. And I'm wanting worms in the cereal like we had in the champagne, or make it glow in the dark and gloopy, like something with oatmeal, but it's sparkly. I don't know. Get creative with it.
Yeah.
Don't make it look like the cereal that I can get at Hy-Vee.
Yeah.
This is space cereal.
Make it coming out of the four-horned sheep's butt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
I hear you.
You fool! Your take is milk toast.
Maybe that wasn't fair, Christian. I didn't actually give you a voice.
I agreed with it. It wasn't ruffling my feathers.
All right, cool. So we're good. What goes better with cereal? Milk goes great with
Milk toast.
toast. Milk toast.
Actually, I think it'd be a fun creative challenge to like ask people to come up with like space cereal. Like, what is your imagined space cereal? Because I am disappointed by the lack of creativity in the cereal in this Star Wars universe. That is my hot take.
That's why the
I'm
immersive
passionate
universe was down.
about space cereal.
That's why the immersive universe was lower.
Yeah.
Some Jupiter Jups.
Yeah.
Some Saturn Sues. Some Uranus.
Alliteration.
There's more than our
Ooze.
solar system.
You couldn't do a Cheerio shaped cereal for any if it was dedicated to the planet Uranus.
No.
That's
Nope.
just setting the tone for anyone out there. It's a bad look. Moving on. Last segment of the show, trivia time.
This is the way to trivia time.
It is trivia time, and Christian has the question for us.
Yes. The evil doctor at the beginning, Imperial Doctor, he was telling the story of the Empire exterminating that sentient species. What was the name of that species? Was it?
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
Sorry, let me pull up the suggestions.
Not that it will help me. It's only a 25% chance.
Was it A, Dizonite, B, Dathomirian, C, Targaryen, or Z, Zabrat, not Z, D, Zabrat.
Wow.
Z. Well,
We
did
skipped
follow
like
Z.
22 other
I'm gonna
choices.
go with
Zabrak.
A.
I'm going to say A as well.
It was A. Good job.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good job.
Points all around.
Woo. We did
Boom.
it. I do want to say I thought that was almost an opportunity to connect Rebels by saying that it was Lasat
Ah,
The Sots.
should've
that
done that
they murdered, because we know that that's canon too.
Yeah.
too.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we did this episode of Andor. We'll be back next week to talk about episode 10. I will not be here for that one. So my two co-hosts,
What?
yep, who are just killing the game right now. Y'all just talk about politics. That's
Yeah.
all I need to talk
Next
about
week, meet us in the cage talking about politics. No, we love talking about politics. Man, and I like talking
Yeah,
politics. And
I like talking
getting
politics
into
with
it,
anyone.
especially Star Wars.
What you wouldn't guess is that Christian is so left wing. It's unreal.
And I am so right wing.
Yeah,
You would
It's
have
kind of scary. And then
really-
there's me. Just watch it all happen.
Exploring ideologies.
a pacifist, a Buddhist, if you will, Brody.
The Buddhist Brody. There's a shirt, underdog. Put it on a shirt. All right, y'all. Well, that concludes this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks. If you want more information about us, please just Google us. It's all out
check
there.
out dueloftheranks.com. If
Mhm.
you're just getting caught up with Andor, you can listen to all of our past episodes, see why we ranked it the way we did, and then let us know your hot takes on our social media. Get in touch with us.
Do it. Oh yeah, you're pointing at the TV. The
Point out the comments.
Oh, the comments. Yeah, the camera. Those people. There you go. We're pointing
Yeah,
at you.
we want to hear from you.
And if you're audio only, just know we're pointing at you. And that's it. That's this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks. Outside of that, we need I feel like we need some Gollum impressions in this show. Oh, and we just got someone saying, what was
this episode too political for Brody?
Don't ignore my comment. Actually, I ranked this episode the highest of anyone. If for those who are new to the chat, I gave an 88.4%, followed by Christian at 81.6 and Amanda at 80.8. So, no, I did not ignore the comment. With that, I feel like, I don't know, don't you think this show needs more like Gollum impressions at some point? Maybe he's choking on something.
Wrong series.
Yeah.
Don't you think it could use it?
I love to see
I don't
Lord
know
of
if
the
we
Rings
get a
just as
choice
much as anyone.
if we're gonna get it or not.
If you did see it in the show, what would you think? What would you think? Good, tacky? What do you think? If you saw it, somehow it got incorporated.
Tacky.
Tacky?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tacky. And the circus finds secret ways to put Gollum into the show. And Amanda says, tacky. Gollum.
See you next week, y'all.